Every 2 to 3 weeks or so, the Dems lie about something, then they manufacture some phony crisis which explodes in their faces. Then they just move on to create another cause, and the same thing happens again. How could anybody believe anything that comes out of these people's mouths? A pattern has emerged from the communist Democrats as they seek to undermine Trump's pro-American agenda because they hate America. They fabricate a crisis based on a lie. Then as that crisis begins to blow up in their faces, well, they pivot to yet another crisis, completely made up with another lie. It's like a never-ending shampoo, rinse, repeat. Remember when it was DOGE destroying our privacy until the public came out in support of cutting hundreds of billions in fraud and waste and studying transgender spiders in Pakistan or whatever it was? So then it switched to illegal immigrants and the due process nonsense as ICE was doing its job deporting child sex traffickers and rapists and murderers. Once again, polls showed a majority of Americans agreed and left them with egg on their faces. So they switched to the climate change disaster. Then Bill Gates of all people, did a massive backpedaling saying, well, climate change, it's not really that big of a deal after all. Bill Gates. Time for a new crisis. So then the No Kings protests arrived and no normal American cared one iota about it. So once again, an entirely new disaster was made up by them. Again, another lie. This one that Trump was starving families by cutting off SNAP, until most people caught on to the real reason was to keep giving tens of billions, hundreds of billions in handouts to illegals in housing, food, medical care, and so forth. When that blew up in their faces, they had to, at last, vote to reopen the federal government. They needed the latest bombshell to cover up that embarrassment, so out came the Epstein Files story. That was gaining some traction until Trump actually released them, all of them, and what everyone saw was that it was the Dems that were pedo Epstein's buddies, including most prominently the top Democrat in America, U.S. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who, it turned out through emails in those files, which became public because they asked for them to become public, was sending buddy-buddy emails to Epstein asking for money from him for his campaign after Epstein had already served time for some of his crimes. That was really embarrassing, so the Dems suddenly dropped that topic faster than a hot coal, and they turned to undermining the military by releasing a video telling active duty personnel you can disobey those illegal orders. But tellingly, they couldn't provide any illegal orders that had been given for the troops to disobey. That infamous video received such massive blowback from the military, from personnel in the military, that some of the 6 Democrats who produced it, well, they're now under investigation for committing crimes against the U.S. Code. Every 2 to 3 weeks or so, the Dems lie about something, then they manufacture some phony crisis which explodes in their faces. Then they just move on to create another cause, and the same thing happens again. How could anybody believe anything that comes out of these people's mouths? Remember them whining about Trump not bringing down the cost of eggs in his first 30 seconds after being sworn in? Well, according to multiple economic trackers, egg prices have now tumbled from about $8 a dozen shortly after Trump was sworn in to around $2.25 a dozen currently. That was the first crisis the commies kept harping on about, and then that blew up in their faces, and the pattern was set on to the next lie and the next crisis. And before they get to this one and lie about it profusely, which is all they know how to do, gas is now at its lowest point since 2021, under $3 a gallon on average nationally. Again, the best in 4 years. 4 years. Don't let them create a big, giant policy crisis over that one. Coming to you from Houston, Texas, I'm Gary Michael Voris. God love you.